Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Comic Shop Talk Live, brought to you by Black Hat Comics in Rockin' Milpitas, your one-stop shop for all things superhero. Shop online at black-cat-comics.com. We keep you connected to the comic book community. I'm Mark.
I'm Francie.
And as always, we've got a fun episode in store for you today. Going to talk a little bit of new this week comics. Going to talk a little bit about comics everything. And want to hear from you. Want to know what you're reading, what you're looking forward to reading, what's at the top of your stack. But we always like to start the show with a little comic shop news. Comic shop news. And the big news here in Rockin' Milpitas is in-store appointments. We are welcoming back you here into the store. So go to black-cat-comics.com, click on that big link that says in-store appointments. And what's it say?
In-store experience.
In-store experience. And that will begin. That will start on Wednesday, and we'll do it through Wednesday through Saturday, just like the curbside pickups. So now we've got in-store appointments, we've got virtual shopping experience, we've got buy it on the website, just cruise by and pick it up curbside.
And mail order.
And mail order, of course, for all of you in the lower 48 and Alaska and Hawaii. Doing everything we can to get you your comics, because that's what we do here. And like I say, we're excited to see your smiling faces back here in the shop. So those of you who want to
masked faces.
Masked faces. We are
Assuming
still,
there's a smile underneath there.
Of course there will be, because they're in a comic book store. So yes, there will be all the safety procedures, all that good stuff still in play. But we'll be happy to see your smiling face, and that's exciting. Mm-hmm. Other comic shop news. Do you want to give them another update on the Chronicles?
Oh, it's so much fun. So yeah, working on issue 2. The Kickstarter campaign should hopefully launch by the end of this month, hopefully. And we're hoping to bring it to you before the summer is out. So working on it diligently behind the scenes. So keep an eye out for Black Cat Chronicles issue 2, Alaska's Port Chatham.
Dun, dun, dun.
Same artist and letterer. So Justin and Nate will be joining us again for this next round. I'm very excited about that. And also looking at some Black Cat tales.
Yeah, you want to tease them, tempt them a little bit with that.
So again, Black Cat Chronicles is all true horror stories, horrible, paranormal, horrific things that we've done to each other across humanity
that have actually happened.
And then Black Cat Tales are going to be fictionalized stories, all kinds of stories, but within that horror, paranormal bent. So also going to be hosted by the Black Cat. Scary
events that have yet to happen.
Yeah. So our second title, we're working on that as we speak.
Good fun. I guess the last little tidbit of comic shop news. Did everybody see the Marvel Sizzler reel this week? That tear-jerking Stan Lee narrated tour through the history of Marvel, the future of Marvel. It was amazing.
I was so awesome.
It does it, and well, for the rest of I always did. Like I used to, when I'd hear the voice of Stan Lee, it would like pick me up. Stan, that's Stan. Now that's Stan. And it gets you in the heartstrings. But man, what a clip! And so exciting to see those dates. So exciting to see the upcoming releases. So exciting to see that 4 at the end, that big circled 4 at the end. Super excited about the Fantastic Four coming into the MCU, on and on. So I know everybody's buzzing about that. Everybody's looking forward to Black Widow and Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man and all those things. Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, all those things. So if for some reason the internet hasn't happened to you yet, discover that and go to Marvel Studios and take a look at that little ad that they do, because wow, that was awesome.
I'm excited to get back into a theater.
Yes.
To see a movie.
Yes. It's one of the big things right away that I really missed through all of this and they touch on that in the Sizzler reel, whatever they call them. And
communal experience.
It's really true. You didn't think about it until it was gone. You know, we've all been building up our home theaters, and we've all got surround sound and big TVs and all that kind of thing. And that's awesome. And can't say enough about how cool it is with the technology and the streaming and blah, blah, blah. All that's great to do at home. But you sort of forgot how much fun it was to be in a room full of people that all jump when you jump, that all laugh when you laugh, and all that kind of thing. It does. It totally adds to the experience. You remember those things. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to that. Looking forward to seeing Black Widow, on and on and on and on. So
get your vaccine so we can all go back to the theater soon.
Yes, get your shots. And I think it was Daniel that gave us the idea about Cap getting right for the window last week.
Daniel.
So thank you, Daniel, if you're watching.
Almost.
You're the winner of the non-contest, but we chose Cap getting his shot. So next time you're at the shop or driving by, take a look at the window, and if you haven't already, be like the superheroes and get your shot. Let's all save the world.
Yeah, we've got a picture of it up on our Facebook page if you wanted to check it out.
It was a big red X at the end.
Oh, for X-Men?
Oh.
Yeah. So
well, that's kind of what the 4 was about,
you gotta
really.
repeat it for our friends on YouTube.
Oh, sorry. Our man Daniel, winner of the window non-contest, says the only thing that would have made that teaser trailer better was if there was a big red X at the end. Woohoo! Can't argue with that. Wakanda Forever or X-Force.
So many uses for this.
So, yes,
Wonder Woman.
But for me personally, the big blue 4 at the end was exactly that, because let's face it, the FF started the Marvel Universe. It all started with the FF, and it's awesome to see them back as part of it.
The rumor you told me yesterday about FF.
Go ahead.
No.
I'm sure they already know.
I didn't know.
So the hot rumor is, and I always get the names wrong. John Krasinski,
correct,
and his wife Emily Blunt,
correct. Wait, yes, sure.
Will both be Mr. and Mrs. Fantastic. Will be Reed and Sue Richards.
Is that a for sure thing?
It is not a for sure thing. That's just the hot rumor.
That would be amazing.
But the rumor just gets bigger and bigger, and so
Jim from The Office and Mary Poppins.
People have done
Fantastic.
like digital, like Photoshop pictures of them in FF suits and the whole bit.
And they should bring back Chris Evans as the Human Torch. That would be hysterical.
That would be so super awesome. He might be aged out of that role at this point, but that would still be awesome.
That'd be amazing.
Bring back Jessica Alba too. Why not? But yeah, like I say, that was super exciting.
Billionaire with her
she is. She doesn't need
to act anymore.
She doesn't need to do the movies.
Wednesday.
So John's asking, when will you reopen? Wednesday the 12th. Go to black-cat-comics.com, click on In-Store Experience, and book your half-an-hour appointment with me, your Rockin' Milpitas comic book guy.
And up to 3 of your friends or loved ones or whoever you want to bring in off
friends,
the street.
Enemies, whatever you like. So come on in, hang out, get the shop all to yourself. Have 30 minutes of undivided attention from the comic book guy, so I can say, okay. And Toby's saying, really, can I talk to you about consignment first produced comic books? Sure, you can send Toby. You can send anything like that, any info you want to info@black-cat-comics.com. We'd be happy to take a look at that. Always interested in something new, fun, and exciting.
Where's Greg? He's still working at your store. We've never had a Greg work here.
We've never had a Greg here, so don't know where Greg is, but he's not here. In 20 years, we've actually never had a Greg here.
So right now, it's just Kazi and I running the shop. So hopefully, once we open back up, we'll be able to bring back some staff. But at this point, you're just stuck with the 2 of us. Yep.
Just the original founders, managers, employees, and all around
janitors,
comic book people,
paper pushers.
Yes. Videographers.
I don't know what we are.
Online personalities.
We're publishers now.
Publishers.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, all those sorts of
But
things.
we still, I was just in touch with our staff. Everyone's doing great. They're still customers of ours. We're still feeding them their comics. So we're still in touch, and everyone is doing well. Thank God.
Yes, as far as we know, everybody that you know, love, and remember here from the Black Cat verse is doing great. Good afternoon, Victoria. Thanks for joining us.
Al is who I think you're thinking of, John.
Yeah.
Al worked at the grocery store, and he's still at the grocery store. He's still a customer, and he'll be, helping it, pitching in if we need to go on vacation or something like that.
And free comic book day and all that kind of stuff. So yes, everybody's still around, still doing their thing.
And also, I wanted to mention to Toby. So we found so Toby's asking about consignment for a comic book that he's doing. He or she, sorry, I can't tell. And I found our artists through a Facebook group that matches comic book writers and artists. So I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but if you search Facebook groups for comic book artists and writers, you can, pitch your idea, look for other talent, and scroll through portfolios. That's how we found our guy Nate, and it was great. And it's a fantastic group, some great talent there. So if you're looking for people to partner to help you create comics, that's a great place to go.
And there was a huge range of incredibly talented people. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Good afternoon, Victoria.
And Joe, same thing. Send any info you want to info@black-cat-comics.com. We'd be happy to take a look at things for you.
Yeah.
Especially now that we're getting into publishing, we're certainly interested in looking at independent comics and things. Independent, as they say in Firefly. So good times. A lot of moving and shaking as the world reopens, and that's exciting. Looking forward to getting people back in the store. Looking forward to getting us back in the theater at here at the Great Mall of Rock and Milpitas. So get your shots.
Get it.
And now the other thing we like to do here on Comic Shop Talk Live is talk comics. So this was a small but good week of books. A good example of some fun things to talk about. We're going to go through some of our favorites, but again, want to hear from you guys. Want to know what's at the top of your stack, what you're reading this week, what you're looking forward to reading. It's Comic Shop Talk Live. So do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
Why don't you start? I don't have that many this week.
All right.
Let's talk about.
I got lots of fun stuff to talk about.
Ooh, so that one on top.
Let's just bust out to the big guns.
I mean, come on.
I'm going to jump to the chase and talk about some War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha. Is it number 0? Is it Alpha? Is it Prelude? I don't know, but it's not number 1. So, wow. Okay. Before I say anything about anything, I mean, you already saw Boba Fett on the cover, right? So what else do you need? I already said bounty hunters. Everybody knows bounty hunters are one of the coolest parts of Star Wars. But let me show you. Good. All right, this isn't too much of a spoiler because it's part of the variant cover. Look at that art.
So
Look at
good.
Steve Niven.
Yeah.
McNiven. Okay. Come on.
Sucks you in.
2 things I've been saying about all of these Marvel Star Wars books from the very, very, very beginning is that you don't need to be a big Star Wars fan. You don't need to be any kind of Star Wars fan to enjoy the job Marvel's doing with their Star Wars comics. Why? Because of the second thing I always say about them is great stories and great art. If you like comic books, that's some great freaking art. And Charles Soule is one of Marvel's brand new all-time greats. He's been doing Daredevil for a long time. He's been doing all kinds of things, done a lot of Star Wars for Marvel for a long time. He's one of their solid writers. So great stories, great art. Now, aside from that, if you are a Star Wars fan, then you have to read this book. Why? Because in this issue, Boba Fett just left Cloud City with the carbon-frozen Han Solo until he's on his way to Jabba to collect on the biggest bounty in the galaxy. He's one happy bounty hunter. But hijinks ensue because everybody and their mother knows that he's got the biggest bounty in the galaxy in his ship, and they're coming to take it because that's what bounty hunters do. So the War of the Bounty Hunters is all about everybody trying to steal carbon-frozen Han Solo from Boba Fett.
That's awesome sauce.
That's awesome sauce. Now, another thing I always say about comics, we've all seen Return of the Jedi. We all know that Jabba ends up with carbon frozen Han Solo. So somehow, one way or another, Boba Fett's going to pull this off.
The ending.
But that's not the point. One thing I say about comics a lot, especially about events, and I'm going to get to that in my next book.
So excited.
The ending doesn't matter. It's how you get to the end that matters. We all know Superman's going to win. That's comics. But it's how he gets there. It's the road that you travel that is the fun part. Sometimes the ending surprises you. But like I say, a lot of the time, we know how it's going to end. That's not the point. The point is the trip down the yellow brick road before you get to the city. So pick up War of the Bounty Hunters. Great stories, great art. If you love Mandalorian, you want to read this book.
So good.
You love Boba Fett, like
So
everybody
good.
that was alive in 1980 loves Boba Fett. You just got to pick up this book. And if you haven't read any other Star Wars, then read this one. Grab War of the Bounty Hunters #1 when it comes out, and that will wet your whistle to pick up all the other Marvel Star Wars stuff.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the director's cut that also came out this week, is it the same thing, just with more stuff?
Yes.
So
but I don't know
issue.
because they sold so darn fast. I didn't even get a chance to look at it. Didn't put one in my box. But yes, I think it's that comic plus like script and extra art pages and, bonus.
Now, but issue 1 didn't come out this week, just Alpha.
Correct. That's
Yeah,
like the prelude. That's just the Alpha. #1 comes in about 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to get a couple more
There's like one shots,
teasers. Right? It's going to go. Yeah, it's going to cross over through the whole line. So the next issue of Star Wars, the next issue of Darth Vader, the next issue of Dr. Aphra are all going to be little prequels to this, and then you'll get the main book. And secondarily, or maybe ninthly, because I've been talking about this a little bit now, Marvel's done an excellent job with their timelines. So when they started this, the main Star Wars book took place right after Episode 4, and they filled the gap in between Episode 4 and Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. And that ended, because then you go watch Empire, and then you come back, and the second wave of Star Wars is now filling the gap between Empire and Return of the Jedi. And obviously, with this Bounty Hunter War thing, we're like this close. And I think that's really neat. I think they've done a great job of filling that timeline without conflicting with anything, and at the same time introducing us new characters like Dr. Aphra and different things.
Speaking of Star Wars, do you want to talk about what you did on May the 4th Be With You Day? That night?
What did I do?
You participated.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
really
someone invited me to be their ringer for Star Wars Trivia Night. They do this online thing, and
it's like the lifeline.
And so they're like, "Hey, can we reach out to you?" And begrudgingly, and you may not believe me when I say this because no one does, I'm not that person. I'm a terrible person to ask for Trivia Night because
he knows all this stuff.
Because, well, I know all kinds of things. Unless you ask me a direct question, then my answer is, I don't know, that one dude who did that thing. He's got the helmet. Suspect is hatless. Repeat, hatless. So it was May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. It was Star Wars trivia. So, I volunteered myself, and I flailed so badly. But in my defense, there was like this whole bunch of pictures of all the different droids from different movies. And some of them you can name, everybody knows R5D4. But some of them you're like, I don't know who that is. I don't even know what that is. And I've seen all these movies 108 times. So
and
anyway,
they're not named in the movies. You have to,
they're not. You gotta,
you
gotta read the books, or you gotta buy the action figures, or you gotta whatever. They don't say a lot of these names. So
epic
anyway, yes, epic fail. I apologize to the person that invited me for this. I'm not the Star Wars person you think I am. I apologize to George Lucas. I'm not the disciple that I should be.
Ask him anything, John Byrne.
Now, yes. I've actually
He would kill at trivia.
I've won prizes at Comic-Con for my John Byrne knowledge.
It's true.
I won a double or nothing off of Wizard Magazine on my John Byrne Fantastic
Nice.
Four knowledge. So there you go. That's my one thing. If anybody can ask me a John Byrne Fantastic Four
Right.
question I
John
can't
Byrne
answer,
trivia night.
then
This is your
you get
guy.
a Marvel No Prize. But anyway, yes, happy May the 4th be with you. If you read the newsletter this week, I love holidays. I love any and all holidays. I'm not Jewish, but I acknowledge them for Stan and Jack. And they don't have a Star Trek day, but if they did, I would celebrate that one too.
I love how you mashed them up this week.
Oh, Cinco de Mayo, the 4th be with you.
So good.
So yes, because why not? Let's have margaritas and watch Star Wars. I mean, right? Plus, I think that's funnier than Revenge of the Fifth. But this is a comic book show, so let's keep going with the comics.
So, don't have that many books this week for me. Swamp Thing, written by Ram V. Really good, great art, great story. So it's not Alec Holland, it's not the historical Swamp Thing, but the flavors and the elements are there. And the first original villain, no spoilers, if you've read Swamp Thing ever in the past, you know what I'm talking about, is also part of the book. And this one, we have a little cameo, not so good, with, you can see on the cover, Poison Ivy, no spoilers, there she is. I mean, look at that art. It's really detailed, really amazing. And, you know, coming from the legacy of Bernie Wrightson, you really do need to have an artist of that caliber writing this book just to keep the
pedigree.
Exactly. And so it's really well done. You know, I like Alec as Swamp Thing. I'm warming up to Levi, who is the now current Swamp Thing. Similar, you know, situation, science gone wrong, guy becomes Swamp Thing, etc. He's got a love interest, etc., etc. It's a cool story. I'm more into the horror aspect of the villain, of course, because that's me, which is really, it's done really well. I really like the Pale Wanderer, is great and super scary, and it's a good like sociology comment on the world, the environment, how we treat it, our relationship to it. So if you like, let's say, environmental horror, that's the book for you. Swamp Thing. Issue 3 came out this week. We still have 1 and 2 on the online store as well. There
you go. Good stuff. And I'm going to jump on that a little bit because I have a bit of an art theme going today. One, that's hugely important. Pedigree in characters. It's not universal, but in some cases it is very important. Swamp Thing is one of them. When the character has a long history and all of that history is only the top talent in comics, then the publisher, the creators are somewhat obligated to maintain that pedigree. And I know that asks a lot. And like I say, it's not for everything. Example, something like Spider-Man has seen a lot of different artists and a lot of different changes. And so when a new artist comes on, they can give it their spin and they can say, hey, you know, okay, great. Like Todd McFarlane, like Eric Larson, like John Romita, as opposed to Steve Ditko, Spider-Man is open to huge change, right? Conversely, Thor was done by Jack Kirby forever. It was one of the books Kirby did longer than anything else. And when it went from Thor to John Buscema to Walt Simonson, sort of like Pittsburgh Steelers coaches, there were 3 artists over like 30 years. And those are 3 of the all-time greats. So if you're going to do Thor, it's got to be great because people associate Thor with Jack Kirby and John Buscema and Walt Simonson. And so you can't give Thor to just some schlub. And I think something like Swamp Thing, and again, even something like Thor, because of the fantasy aspect of it, you need quality art because the artist sets the mood not just for the character, but for Asgard and for other gods and all this kind of stuff.
The world building.
The world building. And Swamp Thing is really important for that too, because it's not just about the look of the character, it's about the look of the world Swamp Thing lives in. Again, Spider-Man's in New York City. Anybody can draw New York City. New York City can look like all kinds of different things, and that's fine. But Swamp Thing needs to have that element of horror, that element of mystery, that element of creepy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If you do it in like pastels, somebody's going to be like, what the hell?
Or like My Little Pony art.
Like that kind of thing. And to stay on that theme and to jump back to my book, one thing I like about McNiven, about this kind of thing in my comics, is, as I've said 100 times, I come from the 1970s, guys like Jim Aparo and George Perez and John Byrne, and the guys that do that sort of highly detailed realism that brings you into that world. And you're on Boba Fett's ship. You're reading this book. You're on that ship. And that kind of detail, that kind of crisp penciling really makes you feel it.
This might turn into a John Byrne trivia hour. So Wild Sharks asked, what's the first DC comic drawn by John Byrne?
I was rather specific with my Fantastic Fours, but I'll take a stab at it. I know before he went to DC, he did Space 1999. That was kind of his first major work. I'll say it was a Batman book, but I'm not entirely sure that's right.
That's a weak answer. Maybe it was Justice League. I'm going to say Justice League.
No, it wasn't Justice League.
Guessing.
John Byrne never did Justice League.
No idea. No idea.
So, and that's why I say Batman, because the only DC Byrne books I can really think of, other than his OMAC book, and that's another one. John Byrne's OMAC book is the best time travel story of all time. Anyway, I'm on a bit of a tangent, which my art thing brings me to my next book, which is Heroes Reborn. And again, like the Star Wars thing, I can go on and on and on about this. It's a Marvel event book. The premise is that it's a world where the Avengers never existed. The Avengers aren't a thing. There's the Squadron Supreme is the premier superhero team of this planet, and all the characters that you know, everything about the Marvel universe is weird and different, and you don't know why. But you know who does? Blade. Blade, the original vampire hunter, is the only one who apparently remembers the world that used to be, and he's setting out to make things right. So, so the reason I mention it, aside from that, Jason Aaron and Ed McGuinness. Ed McGuinness is the kind of artist that I'm talking about. Ed McGuinness was a guy born to draw comics. Ba-bam!
Yeah.
Ed McGuinness, if you go way back to the first run of Superman, Batman, or, you know, his run of Avengers, or just about anything Ed McGuinness has ever done, he's a superhero artist. It isn't that gritty realism, but it's that big and action-packed and larger than life, but you get all the detail. You get shiny metal, you get rippling muscles, you get flowing capes. Ed McGuinness puts you in a superhero world, and so I just love reading anything that he does. And Jason Aaron does that for writing. Jason Aaron is just brilliant with superhero comics because he makes it believable and real, and that's ridiculous. We talk about a world where people fly and shoot laser beams out of their eyes and summon lightning from space, but the best of the best, they make it real and they make it believable, and they make you want more. Close enough. Legend of the Batman. Yep, there you go. Inked by Jim Aparo, who is my favorite
Batman artist.
Both of our favorite Batman artists. We love Batman. We love Batman artists. We could talk about Jim Lee. We talk about anybody you want. But Jim Aparo is right here in my heart because he's one of the artists like I'm talking about. He's an Ed McGuinness. He's a Steve McNiven. He's a guy that makes comics real. When you read Jim Aparo, you're in that world. You feel wind on your face. And like I say, in a world of incredible fantasy, it's a real talent that can make that palpable.
No idea why we Now. Sorry,
Oh,
folks.
sorry, folks. Yeah.
I think we're still live over here, though.
But we're live over here. We're back live over here. Maybe they'll tune back in. So obviously, art is a big part of comics, and there are different styles for different kinds of books, and on I could go. But in general, I think it's really important for publishers to maintain the history, like you're talking about, with certain characters, and to give all the books really, again, that kind of world building, that kind of, art that sucks people in, because that's important.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Who's in the Squadron Supreme?
Oh boy, Dr. Spectrum, the Hyperion.
The Hyperion. He's not.
Okay.
Guardians of the
So
Galaxy
let
stuff.
me make this super confusing.
Sorry, we lost you guys on Facebook there. Don't know what happened.
Thanks for coming back, Facebook crowd. How should we say? The Squadron Supreme is the Justice League, is sort of an evil version of the Justice League. For those of you who are reading Crime Syndicate this week, they're also the evil version of the Justice League. Way back in the day, when this wasn't something that happened all the time, it was one of those stories where the Avengers popped into this alternate universe, and in this alternate universe there was this super team, and the super team sort of ran the world. They ruled the world, and at first they seemed like the good guys, but you kind of came to realize that they were really a team of supervillains that had taken over the world. And so, of course, the Avengers, because they're Captain America's team, beat those guys, saved that planet, and then went home. And in doing so, taught the Squadron Supreme the error of their ways, and they became good guys, and on and on. But so basically, the Squadron Supreme is sort of the DC archetypal heroes in an evil version.
Like if they decide to control instead of protect, and
well, it has become honestly a kind of play on that concept of archetype, right? A little like what they're doing in Strange Adventures, where the archetype is great. The archetype is your hero until you move it just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the archetype looks a whole lot like the villain.
Yep.
For example, Steve Rogers is a perfect Nazi. He's a scientifically created, blonde-haired, blue-eyed super soldier. Steve Rogers is Hitler's dream. He's a mass-produced, perfect white man. So Captain America is the archetype, unless you look at him from the Red Skull's point of view. And then he seems very different. Like I say, same thing works with Superman. Superman is an ideal archetype until you take that to its extension, like they did with Hyperion. So Hyperion is basically Superman who decides that the only way there can be world peace is if he rules the world.
He dominates, yeah.
And so there's him, and there's their version of Wonder Woman and their version of Batman, and etc. So Squadron Supreme has been around for a long time. The Crime Syndicate from DC probably predates it by a little bit, but it's all kind of 60s, 70s sort of thing. And anyway, Heroes Reborn is the newest version of that. It's another big Marvel event. Again, you don't have to read all the Heroes Reborn stuff that's going to be coming out. If you're only reading your favorite books,
so many.
You can keep reading your favorite books, and you can ignore all this stuff. But if you're like me, you love Jason Aaron, you love Ed McGuinness, you love big crossovers. I love books that have everybody and their mother in them. I just do, especially when they're written by people who give each character their own voice. That's hard to do, and it's impressive when it's done well. That's why I take a chance on books by Jason Aaron. So anyway, that's another really fun book, and that's my tangent about comic book art.
Wild Shark says top 5 artists for Batman: Adams, Paro, Newton, Rogers, and Spring. Dick Spring. No better Joker than Dick Sprang. I mean, that's got to be my all-time favorite Joker for sure.
That's certainly true. I can also say Dick Sprang is a little like Will Eisner in that he invented 55,000 tropes of comics that he doesn't get credit for. Every time you see any hero in some oversized thing, Dick Sprang did that. When your hero is trapped in a giant clock, when your hero is trapped in a giant pinball machine, when your hero is trapped in a giant anything, Dick Sprang did that. And everybody and their mother does that, and they don't credit him for it. Among many things, most of what you know about Batman comes from Dick Sprang, and that's.
And we could talk a little bit about Neil Adams, but I'll keep it clean. He basically draws himself. So if you notice his Batman, super hairy, a lot of hair on Adams' Batman.
But real quick, just because Wild Sharks threw it out there, I don't know if I can name 5. Jim Aparo is my number 1. I got to put Jim Lee up there, like a lot of people. Yeah. Hush. I mean, wow.
Clayman, the current guy, a phenomenal artist. Love Clayman.
Also true. Oh boy. And Marcus is screaming. I can hear him screaming through the phone. He's shouting several names. I'm going to keep with Jim Aparo. Okay, what's next on your list?
So the only other book that was top of my list this week was Sensational Wonder Woman. So, I love the one-shots. I love the stories you can just pick up off the shelf. You don't have to read the previous ones. You don't have to read the subsequent ones. And this is kind of like a little anthology. So each issue has sometimes 1, sometimes 2 stories in it, different artists and writers. Sometimes it's an artist and writer, one person doing the whole book. And so this one's got 2 different stories in it. The first story is by, don't quote me because I forget, Colleen Doran. So she's doing both the writing and the art for it, which is really freaking impressive. Those are 2 different skill sets. And if you can be both the writer and the artist, kudos to you. That's just amazing. So the first story, I mean, it's not going to change your world. It's a fun kind of light story about this really annoying marketing woman who's trying to get Wonder Woman to give her business so she could be her brand consultant. And it's kind of like, it's all right. It's funny. And the art is good, but the woman is so annoying that I just didn't want to keep reading it. But the second one is totally a totally different flavor. Alyssa Wong is the writer, and Eleonora, that's a nice name, Carlini is the artist. And so we've got basically Diana getting schmoozed up a bit with Bruce. I can't say that because that's going to be a spoiler. And a gala at that the Wayne Enterprises is throwing. And of course, throwing Wonder Woman into Gotham, that's always fun. I love the rogue gallery of Gotham City, and they show up in full force. And, Wonder Woman and Batman do their thing, and that's fun. So it's not going to change your world. It's not the best thing I've ever read, but it's light and it's fun and it's Wonder Woman and it's good art. So there you go.
You're making me want to see her beat the crap out of the Joker. I've never really seen Wonder Woman. It just kind of makes me, it's sort of like, I just got this flash as you said, Wonder Woman in Gotham. I got this. So you're reading like, you're 5 issues into this 6-issue mini, this full-on Batman Joker thing.
Wow.
And in one page, Wonder Woman shows up in the jet, grabs that green-haired fool, beats him senseless, gets back in the jet and goes home.
Well, the one story that
would be awesome.
The one story that I want to read is one that I'm trying to write, and it's Wonder Woman crossover with Swamp Thing. Because if you think about Wonder Woman, especially so Legends of Wonder Woman, that was a 5 or 6 issue mini. It's a phenomenal book because it talked about how Wonder Woman really isn't the daughter of Zeus. She is the daughter. She's made from clay, right? And so she's the daughter of Mother Earth. So she's really the champion and shepherd of Mother Earth. And so you put that idea together with Swamp Thing, who's also of the green and the protector of the earth, and you've got a dynamic duo. Nice.
I really like that.
So I'm writing it in my head. I've got like the first half a page done, and that's it.
That's a good one.
What's up, Farhan?
Okay. While we're
I only had a Steelers reference.
Okay, staying on the DC theme is Green Lantern #2.
I love John Stewart.
Love this new run of Green Lantern. I almost don't know where to start. Okay, so first of all, the previous run, Green Lantern and Green Lantern Season 2, Grant Morrison, Liam Sharp, was absolutely amazing. So really quick, let me make a plug for, if you missed any of that, There's hardcovers. There will be trade paperbacks. Liam Sharp's art is amazing.
Phenomenal.
Grant Morrison, you already know all about that. So check out all the previous Green Lantern stuff because it's been amazing. But now with the Infinite Frontier, they've got a whole new art, new creative team, new direction, new everything. I can't give you too much story because it's a little spoilerific, but this cover with the grave of one of the Guardians of the Universe is sort of a big spoiler for the last page of issue number 1. But go back and read that one anyway, and pick up this week's number 2. What can I say? Basically, what is really fun about this is, and this is kind of going on in a lot of DC books, is they're feeling free to open it up and tell some stories. They're feeling free to shake it up, to do something, to break the mold, to do some things that maybe they weren't allowed to do before, maybe they didn't want to do before. They're allowing editorial decisions. They're allowing big things to happen, big changes to happen. And one of the most unchanged things throughout all the history of DC is the structure of the Green Lanterns and the Green Lantern Corps and the Guardians and all that kind of thing. Obviously, the Blackest Night and the creation of all the other lanterns was the biggest thing to happen to Green Lantern in 50 years. And now some of this stuff is more in that vein of just shaking it up and changing what you know about Green Lantern. Not in a way that says the past never happened or not rewriting all the things, just events are happening and things are changing and things have to be done. Just jumping right in. So if you love science fiction, if you like Green Lantern, if you like Justice League, again, if you're like me and you like books with 550 characters in them, jump into Green Lantern. Grab number 1. Grab this week's number 2. Let me show you some of the cool art.
Great.
Again, kind of stylized, kind of, you know who each of those characters are. You know where you're at. You feel like you're in a place where there's aliens.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do they ever finally answer why there's so many simultaneous Green Lanterns for the same sector here in Earth?
Yes and no.
Is it 2242? What's the sector?
Sector 2412.
2412.
Yeah. How come all the other sectors get 1 and we get like 86?
5.
I don't know. How come the last son of Krypton gets sent here instead of all the other places in the universe? I mean, wouldn't you send him to Darkseid? No, of course you wouldn't. But you'd probably send him to the New Gods. But anyway,
the New Gods weren't created when Superman was created.
Well, just saying. Yes, the explanation is because
don't fold the comic.
This is my copy.
Oh, sacrilege!
Because everything happens here. Because Earth is the nexus of all the trouble of the universe.
That I believe.
Earth holds all the secrets. Earth is where people. Earth is the Oak Island of the universe. It is that place where people came in ancient times and buried stuff. It's that place where
nice reference.
Where I don't know, ancient aliens came. It's a place. It's if you ever watched Curse of Oak Island, you know what I'm talking about.
So good.
So that's why. Because 2412 needs more help. Or you could also make the argument that Hal Jordan isn't very good at what he does.
Nice.
And so they figured he needed backup.
Wouldn't they just take the ring off him and it float to somebody else? Possibly.
Well, that's why it was supposed to go to Jon Stewart, or no, to Kyle Rayner. But it went to or not Kyle, the
redhead that we all can't stand.
Hates. Anyway, so yeah, there's all kinds of different ones because there needs to be. But yeah, Jon Stewart's the coolest, and he's the one in the new book. So check that out.
That's all I got.
All right, I'm going to do a little bit of lightning round, and then we're going to wrap it up. Marvel Tales Thanos Quest is a book that you have to own for 2 reasons. One, you should be on the lookout for Marvel Tales. It's a big old chunky book that reprints stuff. They're always themed. You know, they did Avengers 1, a Fantastic Four 1, Black Widow, whatever it might be. Every month, it reprints like 2 or 3 super classic, super key books pertaining to that character. So why do you need this one? Because everybody has read Infinity Gauntlet. Everybody has seen Avengers Endgame. Everybody, even my mom, knows Thanos. But the vast majority of you have never read Thanos Quest. This reprints 2 It was a two-part sort of graphic novel kind of thing from way back in the day. They're the two issues that precede the Infinity Gauntlet. Everybody has read the Silver Surfer stuff. Everybody has read Infinity Gauntlet, but you haven't read Thanos Quest. Mostly because it's not reprinted very often. It's not collected in a trade paperback. And the original printing of the first issue was one of those super, super red hot, super expensive books that the first time you saw it, it was $150, so you didn't buy it. But now they put both of them into this book for $7.99, and you gotta pick this up. If you're any kind of Marvel fan, any kind of Avengers fan, any kind of Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, you want to read this, you bet it's Jim Starlin, creator of Thanos. Ron Lim does the pencils on these. And if you remember Ron Lim, which everybody does from back in the day, I mean, come on. Nothing more. This is the best of the 90s right there. Just some really, really great stuff. So like I say, if you read Infinity Gauntlet and you loved it, like of course you did, you love the movies, you love all that stuff, you want to read Thanos Quest, because this is him collecting the gems. This is him how should you say, interacting with all the great Cosmos characters, like the In-Betweener and all these characters that you probably haven't heard of, but they're awesome. Mephisto and Death and on and on and on and on.
We need more Mephisto.
We do. And I mean, it's just so awesome. It's great science fiction. It's great metaphysical comics. Just can't say enough about Thanos Quest. And to get both issues for $7.99 is a lot of fun. Now, so this was Speed Round. Deep Beyond and Noctera. These are the first issues, but the third issues of each of these books came out this week. I'm showing you the first ones in case you don't have them.
Scott Snyder.
Yes, and Tony Daniel. So,
Tony Daniel. Speaking of a good Batman artist, Tony Daniel.
Speaking of good Batman artist, and a little of what I'm talking about, Tony Daniel.
So good.
Builds that world, sucks you into that story. Scott Snyder gives you characters that you are interested in and want to know about. Writes dialogue that is interesting, believable, and individualized to each character. First, let me say, as I always say, everybody should have an image book on their list. If you don't have at least one image book on your regular list, you're missing out on something awesome. And here's two great books to try out if you're missing something image. Look at that, like Two Moons, like Monstrous. Every week in the Wednesday video, I talk about at least one, sometimes 3, 5 books that you want to be reading. And here's two of them, Noctera and Deep Beyond. Cool, dark, horror, science fiction. The reason everybody should have an image book on their list is because they do books with great artists, great writers, and genre fusion. You like horror, there's an image book for that. You like sci-fi, there's an image book for that. You like horror books about clowns, there's an image book for that. You like funny animal books, there's an image book for that. You like whatever it is, there's an image book for that. And so, like I say, this week, 2 of my favorites came out. And so pick up Noctera #1, pick up Deep Beyond #1. You will not be disappointed, and you will want to keep reading them.
And speaking of image, Jeff Johns' Geiger #2, I believe, comes out next week.
Yes.
On image.
Hopefully you got the #1 or the reprinted #1, because it is long gone. And that's another great one.
I totally did the list, but now I completely blanked on what's coming next week.
Geiger #2.
I just said that.
That's all you need to know.
There's some other big ones next week. There's a lot of books next week.
There's a lot of Batman next week. Batman Urban Legends,
X-Court,
X Factor. I like an X Factor a lot. Like Image. Everybody needs an X book on their list. And this gala stuff that's going to be happening is your next big jump-in point.
More Heroes Reborn issues coming next week, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm blanking on everything else. It's all a blur.
Good stuff. So that about wraps us up for this week. You can sign up for the newsletter, and the newsletter is chock full of fun-formational things about good old Black Cat Comics, and we give you reviews for all the week's stuff. When you get the newsletter, you know the website is live. You can go to black-cat-comics.com. click on shop, click on new this week, take a look at the books, pick them up curbside, pick them up in store, get them shipped out to you. You read them through the week, you tune in on Saturday, and we talk about them because that's what we do here at Comic Shop Talk Live. Wild Shark says all 26 sectors now has
Two lanterns.
Hal and John, Kyle and Guy are in the honor guard and have no sector.
Nice.
Yeah, I like Jessica. Jessica and Simon are the newest Green Lanterns, and they're pretty cool. Simon Boz, they're doing a good job with that. Green Lantern, folks. A lot of moving and shaking going on in that book, and it's a lot of fun. So thanks for watching. Tune in Wednesday, and we'll talk about next week's books. I'll show you next week's books, and then tune in next Saturday, and we'll talk all about them.
Thanks for your comments and your questions. Appreciate your interaction today.
Have fun, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.